Hey, hi, hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Pin Pals podcast, powered by Warrior Pins. I am your host, Eric Roman from Warrior Pins. Thanks for lending me your ears for yet another episode. Man, we're just on a roll, aren't we? This is number 11, and we still have more to go. We're trying to keep this thing going all summer long, so please buckle in. Make sure you're subscribed, following, and downloading all the episodes on whatever platform you choose. Now, today's guest is Trusted Vibes, a pin shop that's run by Tanner Trammel. Tanner was an absolute pleasure to talk to. He was even friends with one of our season 1 guests, Name Pending. We kind of get into that in the podcast. We also get into the usual topics like how he started Trusted Vibes, what it's like designing his first batch of pins, marketing on social media, selling B-grade pins, the struggles and challenges of running a pin shop, and so much more. Trust me, this is a conversation between two guys who clearly love pins, so I think you'll find it very enjoyable. Without further ado, enjoy my conversation with my pin pal, Trusted Vibes. I don't have any coffee. Usually have coffee, but cheers.
Yeah, we got the water bottles.
Nice, there you go.
Awesome.
Welcome to Pin Pals, Tanner. How's it going?
Hey, man, it's going great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Happy that you could join us. I know that this has kind of been kind of in the works for a little bit, going back and forth in the messages, but finally glad we're able to make this happen.
Yeah, definitely. I'm thrilled to hear that season 2's underway. And when I first found out that you were doing this in the first place, I was geeking out hard. So season 1's been fun. I think it's such a great idea, and I'm honestly surprised no one's jumped on it earlier.
I'm the same way. I was kind of shocked that this would be like the first podcast about pins, especially since I didn't release it till, I don't know, 5-6 months into the pandemic, and podcasts were like rapidly increasing in popularity. So you'd think maybe someone would have come up with something, but hey.
Definitely. I'm glad you're taking charge.
I think since then there's been 1 or 2 other ones out there, but I think we have them beat by like a couple weeks. So nice. I'll hold on to that. So why don't you introduce yourself to the listeners? Who are you and what is Trusted Vibes?
Yeah, so my name's Tanner Trammel. I'm from Oklahoma City, and I've been running Trusted Vibes since 2015. It started as a fun little side project right after college. And yeah, I just sell fun pins and goods. I say goods because I kind of have some random knickknacks I sell from time to time. Mm-hmm. But pins are kind of the main focus of the shop.
Okay, cool. So did you have, I'm willing to bet that somewhere early in your life you had an experience with Disney pins, and then that just somehow snowballed or just kind of stayed in your life somehow. Am I in ballpark?
Yeah. And then, I mean, it's crazy how much that relates to like almost everyone who has pins. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I went to Disney World a long time ago. I think my first pin was like a Goofy pin.
Nice.
Which still holds near and dear. I have no idea where the pin is though. It just disappeared. You know, you're a little kid, you lose stuff. So yeah. I wish I still had that pin. But yeah, I mean, I was never collecting since day one. I think just randomly on the internet, I just came across some pins on Etsy in like 2014. And mm-hmm. I was like, oh, no way. Like average Joes are just kind of doing this on the side for fun. Like it's just a fun way to build art and release it and like sell it for fun. You know, I don't know. So that's definitely where the bug kind of bit me. Just like, oh, I could do this too. This is going to be a blast.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Do you remember what pins you were searching for way back when?
Oh, I don't. I kind of stumbled across it, but it was a UFO pin, I think. Yeah, it was X-Files related. Something like the truth is out there kind of message with it. I'm pretty sure I have it on my pin board here somewhere.
So trying to find a pin on a pin board is like a needle in a haystack.
I know. If you have 2 hours, I can find it for you. But yeah, it was a shop called Monsters Outside on Etsy, and they've been around since like 2010. But they do a lot of cool T-shirts and stuff. But this guy mostly sells T-shirts, but sold like 2 or 3 pin designs. And that's kind of where I, found out, oh, people make their own pins. That's dope.
So you find that out, and I think that's pretty interesting. Because I think it's interesting that you said the average Joe. Because it's not like it's like, oh wow, like almost anyone can do this. This is really cool. Like, I think I can do this. What was the inspiration? Okay, so you saw someone making these pins, and that's cool. I think I can do that. What did you want to make, and then how did finding these people on Etsy, the shop on Etsy, how did that kind of inspire you to make that first pin and to make that leap?
Yeah, definitely. So it was just right after college, and I went through art school for photography and video. But yeah, for 4 years straight, you're kind of surrounded with really creative people. You're looking at awesome artwork left and right. And the idea of making something that's, small, relatively affordable to make and sell and ship, and almost kind of like trading artwork with people. That really just made me excited. And I am by no far a really great designer or anything when it comes to Adobe software or anything. But I do my best. And I think it's just a blast to be able to do that and have the availability with the internet nowadays. And just building your own shop can take almost no time.
Yeah.
Getting your pins out there is really easy. But yeah, it kind of just started like a fun little side project just to see how it would go. And, coming up on 6 years later, I'm still doing it. It's awesome.
Congrats on that. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you remember the first couple pin releases that you kind of ran with to see what the heck would happen if you put these on the internet?
Oh yeah, for sure. Here, let me grab, I kind of have a separate little small board with all my original designs.
Nice. Okay.
On there. Man, what was my first design? It might have been this popcorn pin.
Okay.
Which is very kind of low grade. And I still sell popcorn pins, but now I kind of updated the design now that my skills have gotten a little bit better, a little bit cleaner, Yeah, I did these little Game Boy color pins.
I like those.
Kind of throwing back the nostalgia and yeah, just pretty much anything I could think of to do. Fanny pack pin. Just all sorts of random stuff.
So how did the experience go after you kind of put them out on the internet? I mean, obviously it led to you still doing this 6 years later. But were they all kind of like a hit? Did you sell out relatively quickly? Did, you find out maybe one particular Game Boy color didn't do well than the others? What was that like?
Yeah, it was interesting. I imagined it selling really quick and just being a fast paced, all right, I'm a CEO now. I got to make these decisions. We're selling pins now, people. But it's always a hit or miss. You think a design's going to be fantastic, and sometimes it doesn't work out that great. And then the pins that you're just kind of doing on the side, just to have a new pin, those are the ones that sell out in 30 seconds. No, I'm joking. Not 30 seconds, but.
But isn't that funny? That tends to be the case. The ones you're I don't know if this is going to do well. They end up being some of your best sellers. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know.
It's that gut feeling.
I think, yeah, it is a gut feeling. You kind of just have to go with it. And I did this Game Boy, Pokemon kind of pin. And that was really my first. Yeah, it has the yellow, the red, and the blue original Pokemon Game Boy games kind of overlapping each other in one pin. That was my first sellout pin, and that was probably my third pin I made way back when.
Oh wow!
And that's kind of when it hit that I was oh wow, this is doable. Okay. First couple pins were struggling a little bit, and that one kind of sold out in a week. I was all right, feeling it.
Okay, that's pretty cool. And this is way 2015, 2016, somewhere around there. The pin game wasn't where it's at now back then. People were coming out with pins for a long time. But the craze and the mainstream and then the pop culture of it all, just like, I don't think still was there. So that must have been like really exciting for you to kind of be like on the forefront of this like massive trend coming through.
It did kind of feel like that, yeah. And I thought about this the other day, just how much pins really have like become a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the last 2 or 3 years, it's really exploded. Yeah, 2014, 15, that was kind of the beginning of it all. You're totally right. Yeah, it almost felt like you discovered a new medium,
Yeah.
like a new platform to work on, as an artist, as a small Etsy shop owner. Yeah, it was pretty exciting.
I mean, it was the wild, wild west back then. It was really easy to kind of game the algorithm and to kind of like get ahead. It was a lot easier to grow back then. So I'm sure, the reach and all that, the impressions were off the charts.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I could go on a rant for hours about social media algorithms not doing what I wish they did. And, it's all pay for profit nowadays. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, the good old days. I miss those.
Likewise. So tell me about the name Trusted Vibes. What I feel like there's a story behind that.
The name is so random. I kid you not, I sat down for like 3 weeks to try and come up with a name. And it's difficult because you don't want to create a name that's so specific. Which I know you've mentioned before in previous episodes, like warrior pins. It's like related to the Ninja Turtles, but it's not strictly Ninja Turtles,
Yeah.
so you could venture out. And I tried
That's
to do the same
wild that
thing
you
where
remember that, by the way. I'm sorry to interrupt. That's just wild.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, I'm a fan of the podcast. It's great. But yeah, I don't know. I just wanted something kind of short and sweet, something cool. And I just like kind of good vibes, So throwing out different words in front of the word vibe. And I just came up with trusted. And I was like, okay, so people come here, they can trust their vibes. They're good energy,
Definitely.
It's silly, but I mean, I don't know.
I think it works. I think it's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah.
It's
I landed
cool
on it. And then, thinking of other names, I'm like, nothing else could beat that in my books. So I was like, all right, we're going with that.
There you go. I love it. Walk me through how you make your pins and the idea to actually contact a manufacturer and shipping them out to your customers. What's that look like for you?
So right off the bat, I've probably used 3 or 4 different like design softwares.
Okay.
For me personally, I feel like the Adobe softwares are really great, but also very intimidating and kind of, hard to grasp sometimes. Yeah. So I've jumped around, and I think it's fine to do that. But once I found a software I felt comfortable with, it's more or less just kind of tracing and selecting colors and doing a little bit of edits here and there, change it up a little bit. But honestly, I'll just hop on Etsy and kind of see like, hey, I want to do a pin related to the Goofy movie, but let's do some research and see what other Goofy movie pins are out there. That's something else I try and keep in mind. Like if someone else has already done it, I try not to do it again, because I feel like the market could just become flooded. I really don't want to step on anyone's toes. Yeah, and most recently, like my Patrick Star pin, there's a million SpongeBob pins out there. So I try to do some research, be like, what pin hasn't been already made with SpongeBob? But yeah, I'll kind of find an image online and more or less just kind of trace it, work with it. You got to think like, all right, this is going to be like an inch and a quarter.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty small item. It's made of metal. You can't always have the most detailed designs,
right?
When it comes to, molds and metal work and all that stuff. But yeah, it's just something to keep in mind. And from there, I have a couple contacts, where people will take my design, clean it up a little bit if they have to,
Mm-hmm.
give me the cost and tell me where to ship it. And then once I pay, they'll work on it and send it over. About a month later, that happy mail day, you get to open the gift and look at your pin and be like, man, this is awesome. So
Yeah.
I love mail day.
Whether you're getting a big fat bag of pins in the mail or you got a pin trade coming in the mail, mail's awesome. And when you get your pins from your supplier, are you, kind of looking them over before shipping them, setting aside, like, I don't know, because that's the nature of making pins. A lot of the times you'll get like kind of defects or little things in pins and stuff like that. So do you come across that? And if so, how do you kind of navigate those waters?
Yeah, definitely. And in the almost 6 years doing this, I've definitely jumped from manufacturer to manufacturer. And something to keep in mind, like they might be great for 2 years, but in that third year, they might start slipping, or
Mm-hmm.
you just notice their work's not as great anymore. Um, so for me, I'm kind of constantly jumping around. If I have a pin I'm really excited about, I'll send it to my go-to number one pin manufacturer. If there's a design I'm kind of just testing, just making a pin for fun, doesn't really matter if it looks awful. That's bad to say, but you know what I mean. Like
Yeah,
a
yeah.
pin you don't really care about that much. I don't know. I'll
Some
send it
pins just
to
don't
kind of,
require that much detail or attention because they're pretty simple.
yeah, exactly. So I'll kind of give that to my test run manufacturers. But yeah, when you get the pins, I definitely look them over, and um, I'd say usually it's like maybe 10 out of 100 are usually, the color's not great, or there's a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of a hiccup here and there.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like that's pretty much anywhere you go, though. There's usually 10 or so out of 100 that aren't quite top-notch quality.
Agreed.
Um, yeah, but I'm pretty happy with the people I have now. But you always kind of go through and look at it. And recently, I've been selling what I call B grade pins.
Okay, cool.
Um, so an A grade would be like damn near perfect, like nothing really wrong with it. That's going to be your normal priced pin. And then B grades with, little hiccups here and there. And I'll sell it to you still if you want it, but it's going to be, $2 or $3 cheaper.
Yeah. Hey,
So,
there's a market for that. People really like, are into, saving a little bit, even if that means there's like a scratch or maybe the color isn't perfect or something like that. So at least you're putting them to good use, and you're trying to kind of offset your costs and not like take too much of a hit with that. As long as there's people willing to pay for it, then I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that. That's cool.
yeah. And I've only been recently doing that. I kind of wish I'd been doing that since day one. I would just take these like 10 or so not so good pins and like set them aside, and then they would just kind of sit in the corner for a year or two. Or, I'd kind of hold on to them and give them out as birthday gifts, and just
Yeah.
random like send a pin to my buddy and cheer him up, whatever. But yeah, I mean, I did the grade Bs for my Patrick pins, and they sold faster than my grade As.
Wow.
So yeah, I
Interesting.
mean, I think people are always down for a deal.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And we'll talk a little more about deals later in the marketing section.
Oh yes.
And so in terms like overall, just running an enamel pin shop, what do you think has been some challenges for you?
Right now, there's not too much, but looking back and thinking about the early days of starting things up, like,
Hmm.
boy, it was rough. Um, the first couple pins I sold, I mailed in envelopes, like just regular, like number 10 envelopes. And looking back, I'm like, why did you do that? That's so not the right way to do it. I would try and like bubble wrap them and keep them safe, and kind
Yeah.
of fold the envelope over and create this like weird square of like a envelope thing. I don't know. It was crazy. And then before I kind of took the plunge and invested in a label maker,
Hmm.
I was printing every shipping label for my printer. and then I'd have to use scissors to cut out the.
Oof.
Yeah, and then it's when I sold my Pokemon pins way back when and got like, 20 or so orders in one day, and it kind of wasn't slowing down. I was like, oh man, I got to invest in a label printer ASAP. Yeah. My hands are hurting with these scissors, Yeah, I mean, it's just a bunch of little stuff like that, and just kind of testing the waters in, what's a good size, like bubble mailer, like a padded bubble mailer envelope. Where do I buy those? What's the good cost for them? Yeah, those early days, man, you really just got to kind of just jump in and figure it out as you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You really got to do your research and kind of take your time. I made a spreadsheet and I just jotted down what I was getting, where it was coming from, the price, what it would be like per unit. I got really specific, but then I started driving myself crazy because I still wouldn't take the plunge and buy anything because I'm like, there's got to be a better deal out there. There's got to be something. I haven't checked Alibaba. I haven't checked all of eBay yet. So there was a lot of that for me in the beginning, but that's just kind of like the person that I am. But, if I could tell myself and probably both ourselves, like just take the plunge and you'll figure it out as you go. But don't let like these little things don't let a couple bucks stop you from like a 50 pack at Staples or like a 50 pack at eBay or anything like that. Like I was getting caught up in a lot of the small things too. Just got to go for it. And you'll get there eventually.
100%. Could not agree more. And it's something else that I just thought of is since day one, I've always tried to make the store a self-sufficient store. Like I have my own separate little bank account for Trusted Vibes. And whatever money I make for Trusted Vibes, basically it goes right back into it. So I try and keep my finances separate, like my personal finance and Trusted Vibes account separate, just to, one, it kind of helps organize it, but also I think it's good you could easily get lost in spending a lot of money on pins and equipment and other things like that. And back in those days, right out of college, I'm still looking for a job. I'm living on my own. Pins, they're relatively cheap to make, but if you're a poor college student, that money's kind of useful for rent and beer money and stuff. So priorities.
Exactly. But like when you think about it, it might be when it's all said and done, getting the design done. Maybe it's going through a couple artists, the backing card, the shipping for the pins, and getting the pins made. You're looking at $100, $200 per pin. When you're talking about multiple pins, that stuff adds up really quickly. So it's I mean, it's business 101 right here, setting up a separate bank account. So glad to hear you're doing that.
Oh yeah. It's worked out good too. It kind of shows you all your money in one pool. And so, not getting mixed in with other assets that you have. So, I mean, I find it to be a pretty good little tip if anyone's wanting to start their own pin business or anything.
For sure. And oh wow, that was going to be my last question before we move on to the next segment. Do you have any advice for any pin makers? And there you go. Get yourself a bank account, a business bank account.
There it is, yeah. I have a brother who's a lawyer, and he's like, man, you got to get an LLC. You got to protect yourself. And I guess that's an option. I still haven't done it yet, but I don't know if a lot of pin makers do that or not. But I think it makes sense, I guess, if you're running a small business, kind of protects you from lawsuits or whatever. They don't take all your money, just your little bank account, separate bank account money. I don't know.
I mean, we're not saying that we're offering any kind of legal advice or this is the way it should be doing. Everyone's situation is different.
Definitely.
Warrior Pins is set up with an LLC for some of those reasons that you mentioned. But really, it was a matter of just saying that I have my own business, and I set it up, and I've gone through all the hoops and challenges to be able to say, Warrior Pins LLC. Like there's it makes me happy, going through all that and stuff like that. So that was kind of like one of the reasons why I decided to actually take the plunge and make it a legit business.
Man, that's awesome. I need to honestly just like look into that a little bit more. You've inspired me. I'm gonna do that.
It was a lot. It was a lot of YouTube videos and a lot of reaching out. I had a business mentor who I would kind of seek professional and personal advice for all sorts of things, but he had experience in setting up LLCs, so like he helped sit me down. We filled out a business plan. He had all these like templates and workbooks because he was a I forget for score.com. I think that you're able to like hire or like get in contact with business mentors. So we kind of had that kind of like experience. So that really helped me take the plunge because I don't have much of a business background. I went to school for communications. I was like really into audio and video, not necessarily business. So I'm just kind of like learning on the fly. But there are tons of resources available is what I'm trying to get at. Not just having a business mentor. Like all the stuff that he told me, I had already heard from doing my research on YouTube and stuff like that. So
nice. I think it goes kind of without saying, like, it kind of just depends on what kind of shop you want to run as a pin person. I could see people like, and I've seen it time and time again. I was like, man, I remember when they only had like 300 followers and now they're like running a warehouse like filled with, like they really like took this and like ran with it. And I love to see it. I think that's the American dream right there. That's awesome. But I wouldn't say my store's like super like out there or anything. It's a humble little shop, but I'm comfortable with it right now. And I think if it does get bigger, I would definitely need to kind of start thinking about those steps where it's like, all right, maybe we should start looking at an LLC and getting some of that stuff figured out. So
cool. Yeah.
And that's another great thing. You can kind of just go with it. You don't have to do all this right away. You can kind of just go with the flow and whenever you feel comfortable, make that plunge.
Great parting words into our next segment, which is all about marketing. Woo! I geek out on this kind of stuff.
I do too.
So tell me, Tanner, what does your marketing strategy look like for your pins?
So right now I'm on Instagram and TikTok.
Oh, TikTok.
Yeah. A year ago, if you told me that I would have a TikTok account set up, let alone one for my pin shop, I would have been like, you're crazy. I'm too old for that. Those are the kids playing with the TikToks. I'm an Instagram and Facebooker. But there's actually like a pretty good pin community on TikTok right now. And it makes sense because I mean that's where all the young people are. I feel like Instagram's was really cool way back when, but now they're kind of corporate, just like Facebook, and it's kind of the circle of life for social media. Like they were cool at one point, but now they're they sold out. Let's find something else.
Exactly. But wait, tell me, what are you posting on TikTok? I'm really curious about this now.
Oh yeah. So on TikTok for my like 6 followers, I have great videos. I have a video about like the shipping process. So it's just kind of showing like my label maker in action and like writing a note and like stuffing the envelope and sealing it and slapping the label on. Kind of just like a fun little, hey, here's me working in my shop. Other videos, kind of just showcasing the pins. There's nothing really too special about it, just kind of fun music playing, different shots, different angles. I try and make them fun. Like for the Patrick pin, I had like SpongeBob audio that I recorded from that episode where Patrick says East. I thought you said Weast. So as you're watching this video of me like showing off the pin, you're listening to the SpongeBob audio clip from the episode playing at the same time. So it's kind of like a fun little film editing software. It's just really fun to play with.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's interesting. You're the first person I think to kind of talk about being on TikTok as a business. That's interesting. That's really cool.
Nice. I mean, give it another year, man. I think a lot of people are just going to make that plunge. But it's interesting. I mean, I feel like at the same time, it's a really flooded platform. Mm-hmm. I feel like, how do I get people to actually like find my TikTok or whatever? I mean, like, it's all about the content you make and if it just kind of catches on. But yeah, I don't know.
It's weird, man. It's like I feel like I just might be too old to just not understand it.
Honestly, I feel like I'm out of my realm half the time. Like, and my wife, who's the same age as us probably, but she has to like kind of hold my hand and walk me through it. Like, now, honey, you want to press this button to do that? I'm like, oh, okay. You know, I'm adjusting my glasses, like my readers.
I didn't know how like involved it was. I made one. I went back and forth. I'm like, let me make a Warrior Pins one because I was like doing doodles, so I decided to do like time lapse Procreate stuff and find Ninja Turtle music to just set it to. I'm like, this is cool, but I don't know. So then I just kind of switched it to make it my own personal TikTok because I got really into music. So I started kind of like making beats and just kind of sharing stuff like that. And then I did something pin related and it was pretty funny. And I think it went viral in relation to like my own little world. Like the post just did like pretty well when you compare it to a bunch of my other like posts and stuff like that. Not on TikTok. I repurposed it and like released it as a reel or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
But Tanner, I could not figure out the platform. Oh my goodness. I didn't realize how involved it was. Like holding the text and you can set the duration and you can change all the different styles and stuff like that. It must have took me like an hour to make this 15-second clip. It was ridiculous.
I was definitely in the same boat. A solid like hour and a half, 2 hours. Yeah. My wife's like, you're still working on that? Like, I got to make sure it looks good.
Yeah, I'm almost there. I think I got it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, frantically like, I think I understand now.
Not now, honey. Not now. We're almost there.
It's been interesting.
For sure. And, you know, it's definitely worth the pain and the struggle to try and keep up because, you know, that's kind of like, you know, business 101, just being able to adapt to all these changes and these new platforms because people are going to go there and there's going to be attention to be grabbed and had and stuff like that. So why not try and take advantage of that when there's a new platform kind of emerging and trending? I know TikTok has been around for a little bit, but for whatever reason, I feel like pins and stuff like that, the pin game is going to get into Clubhouse. And like you said, probably somehow TikTok a lot more. You know, they'll probably end up coming up with some sort of e-commerce feature, and then you can start selling directly on TikTok and who knows, but you just kind of have to be open-minded with it. So that's cool that you're kind of already doing that.
Yeah. And then, you know, of course, pretty much everyone's already on Instagram for a decade now. Yeah, man, it makes me wish that like internet forums were still like the only way to connect with people like way back when on the internet. Like,
yeah.
Could you imagine a pin forum, but like 20 years ago and how crazy that would look like? Just, I imagine it being such a fun time. Because it's just, you don't have to, you know, swipe through all the other, you know, annoying stuff on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook. It's just all in one place. Like, I think that would just be amazing. We could time travel back 25
That would
years.
be awesome. We could be pioneers of that. We could have pioneered all this stuff back in like the late 90s. But
yes.
I get what you're saying because a lot of these like forums that I used to like visit, like Technodrome forums was like a Ninja Turtle thing, but it got like super hyper specific. Like this is the conversation all about comics, and then within that thread there was just like a bunch of other ones. So I feel like a pin forum would just be so well organized, you'd be able to find everything. There's got it. I don't know. I feel like now it's almost impossible to make some sort of database with all that stuff. But it's just it would be awesome if like all the Facebook groups and stuff like that were just into one community. But
exactly, man, the internet would be that much better.
Nah, look at the internet's trying to divide us into our own private groups and stuff like that. Speaking of Facebook groups, are you on Facebook groups? Are you using any kind of Facebook groups to any capacity?
That is something I've kind of dabbled in throughout the last couple of years. I used to have a Trusted Vibes like Facebook page.
Okay.
But after a while, I was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to kind of focus all of my energy on a few versus all of my energy on like 6 or 7 like social media platforms. Yeah, on Facebook, I think I still am a part of these groups. I have them like muted. But yeah, there's like a pin group for pins that are specifically under 1 inch. And then there's a pin group that's like anything goes, like just post whatever. And like that one's kind of fun in the idea, but then you have just a bunch of nonsense being posted and not even pin related. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I've found enough groups on Facebook for me to be like super impressed. I don't know if there's just like a moderation problem or what, but I think Facebook in general, I'm just kind of slowly stepping away from Facebook.
It's tough. I mean, with all those headlines and stuff like that Facebook gets and whatnot, is, you know, makes you feel weird being on the platform and continue to use it. But it's tied to Instagram, so that sucks. And like, I feel like the pin groups are hit or miss. If you can find your like specific niche, then you might be able to find some form of success, but I'm pretty sure that the audience will be super small. You know, I don't know if a lot of people are flocking to Facebook, but you'll find that niche dedicated audience. So, you know, you might have a pretty high click-through rate if you're posting links or, you know, stuff like that. So I do feel like there is an advantage, but you got to dig through some weeds, and there's a lot of just like, I mean, every time, I don't know if this happens for you, but every time I post on one of them, like I think Pin Nation is one of them, and like Enamel Pins is probably the name of another one. I'd get a bunch of manufacturers sending me messages on my private Facebook account, the same ones that we get on Instagram, but now they're coming through on Facebook. So that's the one thing that sucks. But
yes,
I've gotten a couple sales from selling or like posting a link on there. So, you know, I'll do it just to kind of get the exposure. But I think more times than none, it's gotten like a 0 exposure. So I really don't rely on it. It's just kind of like, oh, I have an extra 5 minutes. Let me do that. But again, you know, it probably depends on like your business and the niche that you have.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like if you have the spare 5 minutes and you want to, and you can just kind of quickly do that, I say go for it, you know, because you'll probably get at least 1 or 2 sales from it, maybe. And it's happened to me. And honestly, like I sit here and I complain about Facebook, but really I should probably do that. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's all about what you want to do. And yeah.
There's no right or wrong answer, because it can be a lot. And it can be very overwhelming. Typically, I think more often than not, there's a lot of just like these pin shops and these pin makers it's just one person doing it. You know, maybe their partners helping out from time to time, or maybe they have like a family member helping out. But you know, that's just kind of like the sense that I've been getting from everyone I've talked to and met through shows and things like that. It's a lot. It's a lot. So it's you know, you mentioned this before. It's kind of better to just kind of focus on the platforms that you know are going to work well versus spreading yourself thin, you know, when you're not really going to get any kind of results or actions.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So I want to ask you, do you have any kind of marketing tips, like Instagram tips or anything like that for any kind of new pin makers?
Oh yeah, definitely. So on my phone in the Notes app, I have a dedicated hashtag note. So when I'm creating a new post on Instagram, I can kind of quickly copy and paste those hashtags to then include in my post from my notes. So that's a big time saver. And I know for me, at least, a lot of times I'm using the same hashtags for any pin post.
Mm-hmm.
And really, what it's probably like 25 hashtags. Like I kill it with hashtags. Like all my posts are just drowning in hashtags. But it's free exposure, and it helps
Mm-hmm.
gain followers. So yeah, if you could just do a little bit of research, find out what hashtags that are like pin related that are doing well, or like have a lot of posts being added to. I think that would be helpful. And there's always kind of the trick, use the popular hashtags, even though it has nothing to do with your pin. So it gives you like exposure.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I've never really done that myself. I try and keep it tried and true for the hashtags. Yeah. What about you?
Oh, interesting. So I used to do that way back in the beginning before the algorithm just kind of started becoming its own like brain and its own thought to try and like game the system. But what I learned by doing that is you'll get the followers in like the short term, you'll get your numbers up, but then after a while, I think those accounts more often than not might be like bots and stuff like that. So they just kind of get like
Mm,
wiped out and stuff like that. And they're not like real follows. I struggled with it because in the beginning, I was obsessed with growing the amount of followers. So I was trying everything from like the ultra niche specific hashtags, TMNT pins, enamel pins, Ninja Turtles, things like that, to, you know, L for L, like for like, comment for comment, follow for follow,
yeah.
Insta art, and like way more like broad ones where your post will not likely be seen because of the amount of volume behind it. Um, but I know that back then there were just a lot of like accounts that I think were kind of connected to like a third party app or something like that that would automatically follow you if you fit this criteria of having X amount of followers or using a certain hashtag. So it was really weird, and I was trying a bunch of different things in the beginning. But it's funny that you say that that is your advice, because I do the same exact thing in my notes app, except I have like 5 or 6 different sets of 25 hashtags. And like those
Oh,
25 hashtags are pretty much the same. I'll have like a general Ninja Turtle. Maybe I'll do, if I'm doing like one of my drawings or doodles, I'll just kind of like switch the hashtag so it includes like iPad drawing or Procreate art or TMNT art, things like that. But then I leave 5 hashtags for me to kind of just make it specific about the post. So if it's Donatello, like one of my drawings was Donatello in the life aquatic as Steve Zissou. So like
oh,
that
that's
gave me
great.
that gave me the freedom to kind of like add that and hopefully get exposure through those hashtags. But it's a huge lifesaver having all
Hmm.
those and taking the time to do the research and putting them in your notes. You don't have to worry about it, because oh my God, the amount of time I'm sure that we wasted in the past trying to remember all of those hashtags, using the wrong ones, misspelling them, and all that stuff. So definitely will sign off on that piece of advice.
Oh yeah, definitely. And the last couple of hashtags you got to save for the little super detailed. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, all great advice.
It all hopefully works. I don't know.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you're still questioning the algorithm.
No, that's totally it. I mean, yeah, you put your time and energy into these posts, and then at the end of the day, wow, is the algorithm really gonna help me out, or just kind of bury me with everything else?
Yeah,
Yeah,
It's really not your fault because you can do all the proper research, you can do everything, you can be following all the best practices. It's very easy to get like disheartened by everything when only a handful of your like less than like 10% of your followers are seeing your post. But I don't know.
It is what it is.
It is what it is, really. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
you just got to keep pushing through it. Tomorrow's a new day to reach more people.
Yeah, and not to be a bummer to any listener or anything. I mean, at the end of the day, as long as you're having fun,
yes,
there's someone out there that's going to buy your pin. And another good tip, you could always reach out to people and ask for a trade.
Yeah.
Like, hey, take a look at my shop. If you like anything, build your collection. I do that all the time. I'm like, hey, I love your pen. I have like 10 pins on my Etsy store. Come check it out. If you want one, cool. If not, no worries.
Mm-hmm.
It works out half the time. They're like, yeah, that'd be fun. Let's do it. So.
Oh, yeah. People love pin trades. It's awesome. And it's a great way, like you said, to kind of get some organic reach. Your pins will, hopefully be introduced to their followers and vice versa. So there's value behind that.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm always trying to give a shout out like, hey, be sure to check out these people. This pin rocks. Do it to it.
I love it. All right. So talk to me about vending at shows. Have you vended at shows? What's that like for you?
I have gone to a handful. They've all been very small though. Okay. That's definitely on my bucket list. I would love to go to like a legit like pins and patches show. I would love to like take everything I have and like go to LA or New York or or something.
It would be really cool. Okay, so you've only attended these shows. You've never like vended at the shows.
Oh, I've never been to one either. Yeah.
Oh.
Not the big ones. Yeah.
Right. But like markets and stuff like that by you. I'm sure that there's like art shows and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. There's a handful I've caught here in Oklahoma City. When I lived in Austin a couple of years ago, that was way more frequent. There's just a bigger crowd for it. Lots of young people, hip people. But yeah, me and Matt from Name Pending, we actually teamed up at a small event one time. It was at a brewery, and we shared a booth together and just with some other random artists, and it was great. Our table was right next to the bar, so we just kind of had to like lift our hands, and we both probably sold like 5 items or something. It wasn't a huge success, but it was a good time, just kind of showing off what you have to the world. And big or small, you can go to any kind of pop-up event or market. I say do it. It's a fun experience getting to sell stuff face to face. Yeah, I would love to do more of that.
It's a great experience, and I'm glad that you had a good time, because that's really what it's all about at the end. Not necessarily how many pins you sell or how much money you're making, but like you're connecting with people who enjoy the products, or just striking up conversations that probably wouldn't have happened if you didn't make those pins. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and of course, the past year, 2020. Early 2021, it's obviously been a different experience for everyone, but I can't wait, man. I want some more markets to go to, and then one day I would love to like have enough to bring to like a big show, and even travel for it. Because I know Dallas has a lot of cool stuff similar to that. And that's a 3-hour drive for me from Oklahoma City, so
that's not
really
bad.
not that bad. Yeah.
No, I think Patches and Pins, I think they came to Texas 2019, or they were beginning to like go all across the country before the pandemic hit.
I was following them, and I was like, man, yeah, please, more of Texas, and heck, come to Oklahoma too.
I'm sure he would have come. I was getting ready. I'm like, should I go on like a Patches and Pins tour? Like, does this make sense? Like, because I was making like some pretty decent money. The logistics, I think, would be a nightmare, and flying and booking hotels and stuff like that, like all by myself, or like having to worry. Like, I would have to bring someone with me, and then I would have to cover like all of their expenses as well. Like, it wouldn't make probably a lot of financial sense. But the pin dreamer in me saw it as like living the life. Like, yeah, I'll meet you out in Texas. Yeah, I'll be out in Portland at the end of July. Like, I was really like contemplating that, and hopefully at some point, we get there, because it is a great experience. It's wild. You get to meet a lot of cool people. It's a lot. And it can be costly for sure, but I think it's worth it. Just, you're in the heart of the pin game, I feel like, at a lot of these like dedicated events, and it's just inspiring to see these people just enamor over all the enamel. How about that one?
Oh, I love it. That is poetry right there. I feel like the light is at the end of the tunnel, and we're so close.
Yes.
Are you in New Jersey? Is that right?
I'm in New Jersey. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know how New Jersey's been, but Oklahoma's been pretty good at getting vaccine shots out to people. And I don't know if it's just like a population thing, but it's really encouraging. It's like, oh my gosh, like people are getting vaccinated. Like, I think we're getting close to kind of being at the end of this thing, hopefully, knock on wood.
Yeah, I think you're right. A lot of my close friends have been vaccinated already. I become, I think, eligible for vaccination April 5th, because my full-time job is in media. So that's really cool. And I'm definitely looking forward to doing that. I had to bow out of Patches and Pins this year because it was being held indoors, and despite all the precautions and preventative measures that were more than likely going to be taken, I still felt weird about it, because there's still a lot of people, and I'm going like very far out of my way. This isn't like, I'm an hour and a half bus ride from New York City, and then I got to get to the venue and then back, and taking public transportation during all of this stuff, meeting people, more than probably touching hands, like not on purpose, but it's probably going to happen when you're taking cards and giving out pins and stuff. It was a lot, and I didn't feel like completely safe doing it. Had I got the vaccination when I needed to make the decision, maybe it would have been different, but unfortunately, I'm going to have to kind of be respectful, and I just can't put myself in that position, or my family in that position,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's definitely a lot to think about, and Lord knows I've definitely been in that situation in the past year. Like, I really want to go to this thing, but I'm going to take one for the team. I'm going to stay at home.
Yeah. In the long scheme of things, it's probably not worth it. Like you're okay not doing that one thing or not seeing that one person. Like, it's understandable. Cool. So let's move on to the final segment of the podcast. One of my favorite parts, which is just a Q&A rapid fire portion. I'm just going to throw a bunch of questions at you. I hope you're ready. There you go.
All right.
Get loose.
Getting ready.
Crack in the neck. Some water. There you go. Get your Twitter ready. There might be some hot topics and some hot debates going on. So let's get started. Are you soft enamel or hard enamel?
Ooh, hard enamel.
Okay.
It just looks clean.
It does.
I say that, but then like a majority of my pins are soft enamel. So a little texture is nice too, but man, something about a hard enamel just really shines. I like it.
I feel you. Just that polished look is just nice. It gives like a premium feel to it,
Yeah, definitely.
Are you into dyed enamel pins or glow in the dark enamel pins?
Oh, glow in the dark.
Yeah.
I got to say that because I got some skeletons on my board that glow in the dark. I got an alien that does that. So it's fun being in this room all day with like the ceiling light on, and then when you like go to turn the light off, my pin board just like glows in the background.
That's cool.
Like, that's pretty cool.
That's tough. I think that's a low key flex.
And so you gotta flex where you can.
There you go. I love it. Rubber backings or the butterfly backings?
Oh, rubber.
Okay. Yeah. A little bit
Especially if you're a
easier.
hat pin guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a hat that says pins on it, and I got all my pins on it, and I love wearing it. But man, if it was the metal backings, the butterfly clips,
That would hurt.
that would hurt after a while. At least, I mean, the rubber, it's still uncomfortable a little bit, but I think it's better. It's at least a little softer.
Yeah, wow. I actually never thought about that because I do have pins on some of my hats, but they're like towards the bottom of it. Like I don't have one on this hat, but they're here, so you have the flap on the
Oh,
inside to protect you from it. But
yeah.
I'm not, I'm the odd one out, probably only putting like pins on like the lower part of it. I've definitely seen people
Hmm.
who have pins like everywhere and stuff like that. And I've definitely had hats that I've worn like to the ground to the point where like this is so soft that the metal does like come through and like poke me. It's
Like
annoying.
piercing your skull. Yeah.
Yeah. I do it for the game. This is how much I love
Yeah.
pins. I don't care. It's part
I
of the
bleed
game.
for pins.
What's your favorite metal to make pins on?
Ooh. Probably nickel.
Yeah.
I think a lot of my pins are black dye nickel.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm saying that right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I just like having the black look to it with the colors pop really bright on that.
Yes.
Because sometimes you get like a shiny kind of metal and it kind
Mhm.
of takes away from the design.
Yes.
Um,
I can
but
see that.
at the end of the day, it's all about what design you have and what looks best for it. But yeah, I'm always doing the black dyed nickel.
Nice. Yeah. We do that pretty often too. Tell me, which hashtag team are you on? Pin game strong or pin game proper?
Oh, is it bad that I didn't even know pin game proper was a hashtag? So I guess that answers my question.
It's like the little brother that doesn't get all the attention or whatever. It just kind of gets lost in the shuffle when people think about pin game strong and pin game.
Yeah,
It's all good.
apparently I'm a pin game strong guy.
There
Yeah.
you go. Nothing wrong with that. That's a strong, no pun. Well, I guess pun intended. All right,
Yeah.
moving on. Are you a pin addict or a pin collector?
Ooh. I'd probably say collector
Okay, I
because
like that.
I've seen a lot of cool pins, but I'm able to walk away. You know, I don't have to get my fix there. You know what I mean?
Dude,
Start scratching my neck and
yeah.
like,
You
man, I need
gotta
my pins.
make a TikTok on how you're able to do that because it's so hard for me to resist any trade that comes in front of me.
Yeah.
What's your favorite place to rock a pin?
Ooh. Denim jacket for sure.
Nice. Are you kind
And
of like
then
littering your jacket with the pins, or is it just like one in the lapel and like maybe one over like the little pocket flap?
yeah, definitely the latter. Kind of strategically place them on the pocket like flap on your
Mhm.
chest, and then one on the lapel part, or I guess like the neck folding. What do you call that? On that part of a jacket, the
Collar, lapel, kind
collar.
of. Yeah,
That's a great. Yeah. It's
I
like,
don't
wait,
know.
what is that called again?
Maybe on a
Collar.
jacket, it's
Yeah.
a collar. On a shirt, the lapel, the collar. I don't know. Listeners, write your
We'll have to
comments
Google
in.
that one. Yeah. Let us know what you think. Start the polls now.
Yeah. Leave a comment in the section, and we'll pick one person, and that will be the best place for us to rock pins. I don't know, or whatever. Completely forgot what we were talking about. Lapel and collar. Oh boy,
Man.
it's getting late.
I do feel like there's a famous guy at like some baseball stadium who has a pin jacket covered head to toe. I can't remember if he's like a Red Sox fan or even a Yankee fan. But have you heard of this?
You're talking about Pin Guy.
Yeah.
New York Mets.
New York Mets. That's who it is. Yeah, like almost head to toe covered in pins. Like that jacket must weigh like 30 pounds.
Dude, it's funny that you bring that up. I met him like 2 years ago. A coworker invited all of us to go out to a Mets game. He's a really big Mets fan. So much so, he brought jerseys for all of us to wear. And there was like a small group of us. He had all these jerseys. I'm like, all right, cool, man. We'll throw on the jerseys. We're having a good time. And then Pin Guy just walks out of nowhere and everyone's like, yo, Eric, look, you gotta go get a picture with him. And just like bugging out. I'm like, this is insane. So of course I rush down, I get a picture and I'm just like inspecting all of his pins. And it's so well done. So it's a pinstripe Mets jersey. I'm not a huge baseball fan, so I don't know if this was like a vintage or like their current ones, but just like the pinstripes, thin pinstripes going all the way down, and he had the pins matching the stripes. So it was they were all neatly placed, but Tanner, they were everywhere. That I don't know how much that jersey would weigh, or I mean, I hope he's got the rubber backings on them because they're everywhere. The sleeves all over his back. Like, does he have to stand the entire game or lean forward on his chair?
Yeah,
like, there's so
seriously.
many questions.
Oh my gosh. It's impressive that like parts of the jersey aren't like ripping every time he's walking. Just the sheer weight of all those pins on, man. I've seen pictures, but I'm sure seeing it in person is like next level.
It was insane. I should have him on the podcast.
Oh my God, you do it, man. That'd be a great celebrity episode.
Wow. Okay. Big goals. Would never thought that would ever be a thing, but here we are. Let's bring it into fruition. What's the saying? Like, wish it into reality or say it into reality?
Yeah. Do it to it, man. That'd be great.
There you go. That'd be awesome. We'll have you on as like a guest interviewer or something like that if this actually happens.
Oh, I would have a few questions for sure.
That would be wild. All right, just a couple more questions for you. In the 6 years that you've been doing Trusted Vibes, what have been some of the biggest accomplishments you've achieved?
Biggest accomplishments. I've sold pins to countries I admittedly did not know were countries. I've sold pins to, I think, just, it's kind of, I don't know, like, I don't think there are any celebrities wearing my pins, but there are people in Australia wearing my pins. I've sent pins to Japan, Germany, France, like pretty much everywhere in Europe. Someone from New Zealand bought a pin one time. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, the shipping is ridiculous. Even for a small pin to go international, that's someone's really wanting that pin. But
sometimes it's more than the pin.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, easily. I don't know. I think that's a pretty cool accomplishment for kind of a small little side thing I do, to have pins all over the world. And at the end of the day, that's really the vibe I'm going for. Just share the fun pins with random people.
I love that. It's very cool. I think when we started and we were getting international orders, I was really adamant about getting a globe or some sort of map and then just getting like little push pins. And I'm like, I'm going to get pins all over the world. And I started keeping track. But you know, the cost of shipping and stuff like that just makes it like pretty difficult. But I'm sure it is a good feeling to know that like you got some pins in Australia, in New Zealand. New Zealand, that's crazy. Do you remember what you have in New Zealand?
I think it's probably my UFO pin, my black and white kind of UFO desert pin. But yeah, Rihanna has a pin. No, I'm joking. I wish.
I was like, what? Tell me more.
What? I would be telling literally everyone I know on the streets, like, hey, Rihanna wears my pin. And they're like, what does that even mean? But
you would turn that into a pin of itself. Like
exactly. Yeah. I am just staying alive for 6 years, keeping the pin game going.
Hey.
I think that in itself is pretty cool.
That's a pretty cool accomplishment for sure. You're able to stay afloat. Not really. I mean, I don't know what the numbers look like, but I don't think you'd be here 6 years later if you were losing money. So that's awesome.
Yeah, true that.
There you go. If you had to remake one of your pins, what would you do differently? Well, which one would it be and why would you do it differently?
I have a great example here. Are you a fan of The Office? Have you
Big
watched
fan.
your? Okay, this will be not over your head then. I released this Creed Thoughts website pin. I think I'm gonna bring it back eventually. I mean, I just did it wrong. It's really small. It's hard to read because it has a shiny kind of background to it.
Mm-hmm.
I would make it bigger. I would maybe even include like Creed actually being in the pin and not just the website. Yeah, I made that pin thinking like I am such a genius. It's gonna sell out 5 minutes. Everyone loves The Office. And then it did all right. It did decent, but I just let it fade away. And yeah, if I could redo one, I think I'd do that and really like beef it up and make it awesome.
That's cool. And so I'm sure that you've used that experience with making pretty much every pin afterwards, just kind of putting a little bit more thought into like what it's going to look like when it's done, like trying to really envision like the shiny finish versus a flat matte finish or something like that. So, even though you would go back and change it, there's still like takeaways from that in order for you to make like not better decisions, but get the pins that you want made, how you see them in your head.
Definitely. And way back then, at least I was just trying to pump out a bunch of pins to beef up the store.
Mm-hmm.
But this is something I kind of even learned recently. Like, let's slow down. Let's really think about this design. Let's work on it for like a couple weeks and not just like a day or two and do a turnaround. So. Yeah.
Nice. And last but not least, I like to end the podcast by asking everyone, because I feel like everyone's got a little thing in their life that they look forward to, whether it's Friday night movie night with your friends or going to In-N-Out and having a delicious burger and milkshake, once every blue moon. Tanner, what are the little things in life for you?
So, okay, this is going to sound really extra, so I apologize. But one of my little things in life right now is putting our margarita machine to use. My wife and I got married in July during the pandemic, so that was already kind of a bummer. And that's a whole different story. We'll have to talk about that on a different podcast. It'd take too long to talk about. It still turned out great. It was a great event. But my sister-in-law kind of went in and bought this awesome margarita machine for us. So honestly, if there's like any excuse to make a margarita, like I'm going to do it. It's coming off the shelf. I'm putting the ice in the top dispenser thing and filling up all the ingredients, and it blends it and it like makes it into a slushy. It's loud as hell, but it's beautiful. Yeah. So, I mean, like there have been Tuesday nights where I come home to my wife who works from home and I'm like, how was your day? And she was like, it was actually pretty good. And I was like, mine too. Let's make a margarita. Let's do it.
Oh man, it's lit at your place on Tuesdays.
Oh, I'll tell you what, man. We'll have to get you a plane ticket out here. Yeah, Tuesday night at the Trammels. We're making margaritas.
I love it.
That's kind of been my little thing I look forward to in the past like year or so. Just like life's short, let's have a margarita and hang out. So
I like that. All right, Tanner, you made it to the end of the Pin Pals podcast. How do you feel?
Woo! Awesome, man. This is such a good time. I had a blast.
Awesome. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so thankful that you're able to take the time to be here and chat pins and just kind of open up about your stories and these challenges and all your successes. And it's so awesome to see you doing well, still making pins. The pandemic didn't really get to you and you're still out here doing your thing. So I just want to commend you on all your efforts. All your pins are awesome. Can't thank you enough for being on here. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, man. It's been an honor.
Of course. Wow. It's an honor that you think it's an honor to be here.
Heck yeah, man.
I'm going to give you the floor. Tell the listeners where they can find you, what you have coming on in the future, and any shout outs you have. The floor is yours.
Definitely. Yeah, the website's super easy. It's just trustedvibes.com, and that will link you directly to my Etsy page where you can find all my fun products. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok. It's at trusted_vibes. Got some cool new releases coming up soon, including a fun, goofy movie pin.
Yo, the Leaning Tower of Cheese. Love it.
That's right. So I got that cool pin coming out. Some pizza related pins in the works, which I'm really excited about. And I'm surprised I haven't made pizza pins yet so far. Because I love pizza.
What's your favorite pizza topping?
I'm weird, man. I like pineapple and pepperoni.
Interesting. As
a combo. It's kind of got like a savory sweetness thing going on.
Yeah.
A little bit of hot sauce on it.
Okay. I got to write that down. I got to try that. That sounds interesting. A little twist on the Hawaiian pizza.
Yeah. So, I mean, some people are so anti-pineapple on their pizza. So I'm always like wary of sharing that.
I like that. I would try that. That sounds good. With hot sauce too? Interesting.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. I mean, it works.
To each their own.
Shout out wise, I'd really like to say hello and thank you to Matt Benoit of Name Pending. You know, I used to live in Austin, Texas, so we used to be like really close buds, but now with the distance, we just keep in touch through text, and we're always sharing pin ideas, and his feedback and support and help is always welcomed. And yeah, really thankful for that, dude. And then of course, I'd like to do a shout out to my wife who allows me to take a part of our office and make it like a pin studio basically. So, but yeah, and all of her support and love and all that.
Shout out to all the beautiful partners out there supporting us crazy pin dreamers.
Exactly.
And you also have a special discount code for our listeners.
Oh, yes. I'm glad you reminded me. Yeah, for the next, probably forever, if you use Trusted Vibes, all one word, I'll knock 20% off your order.
Wow. Boom. 20%.
The big 2-0. 20%.
20% by just using Trusted Vibes in your shop, all one word. Sounds pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
I love it. Well, Tanner, again, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to talk with you. Great conversation. I look forward to the day in which our paths cross in real life, hopefully at a Patches and Pins Expo. If not, we'll go crash Matt's place and just hang out.
Oh my gosh. Yes, let's do it. And thank you so much for having me, man. It's been great.
Yeah, no problem, man. No problem. We'll definitely have to have you back on because there's a lot that we haven't talked about, and I'm sure we could go on for a while. But for now, it's been great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Take it easy.
Awesome, man. Have a good one.
And there we go. Another episode in the books. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. If you made it this far, take that screenshot and share it on social media. Make sure you tag us and let all your friends know that you guys have good taste when it comes to podcasts. If you've enjoyed what Tanner had to say, please check out his shop, Trusted Vibes, and buy a pin or two from him. Links to his shops and his Instagram will be in the show notes. Big shout out to our Buy Me a Coffee supporters and members. You guys are the real ones. Pin My Ride and Pins by Charlie. Really appreciate the continued support. Thank you, thank you, thank you. To anyone out of the loop, if you're digging this podcast, why don't you consider supporting it by buying me a coffee? Now, this sounds silly, but it's a fun way to directly support the podcast, either with a one-time donation or a monthly recurring membership. All that money goes back into the podcast, whether it's producing episodes, getting them edited, hosting fees, and other miscellaneous costs. It all will go back into the podcast in order to churn out a much better, more polished product. So that's awesome. And in return for supporting me and the podcast, you get a bunch of cool perks like early access to who our guests will be, exclusive content on our Instagram page. We're about to do and announce some fun monthly Zoom chats, and we're working on some merch. I don't want to say too much about that right now, but it's in the pipe works. So if that all sounds like something fun and that you want to be a part of, definitely check out the show notes. Don't forget that you can watch the podcast on YouTube. Just search for Pin Pals Podcast and it should be the first result. Definitely check that out and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, for all you audio listeners, thank you for continuing to download and support the pod. If you haven't done so already, why don't you rate and review on Apple Podcasts? It only takes 2 seconds and it goes a long way. Do so, and it's possible that I'll read your review just like this one from Jackie Meoff. If you like pins, you're going to love this podcast. Short, sweet, simple, and super helpful. Thank you, Jackie. I appreciate you taking the time to do that. I think that's all I have for this episode. So I've been your host, Eric. Thank you for joining me. I will see you next week for another new episode. And remember, it's the little things in life. Peace.